Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us today. We're always blessed to be here, and we have a very special guest today. But just to reiterate, thank you and welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today, as you just heard, we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is available on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please be sure, whatever platform you're on, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, X, to join in one of the chat rooms. We'd love to connect with you. You can leave your questions and comments there as well and talk with us live and ask our guest questions. So tonight we're privileged to talk to a woman who went from directing award-winning television and guiding narratives on a screen to gilding souls through the ultimate story archive, the Akashic Records. Akashic Records. Whatever which way I think it's Akashic, correct. Her name is Mary Madeiras, and she is an Emmy-winning director. So we're super excited to have her here today. And she has discovered the world's most mystical library is, in fact, the most practical tool for living a truly intentional life. And it's weird because lately I've been kind of getting directed to talk about this subject. So it kind of, the universe just agreed with me and walked Mary into our live today. So I'm super excited about that. The great thing is, if you've ever felt stuck in a pattern or been researching for your true purpose or wondered about the deeper meaning behind your life's challenges, Mary's book, The Akashic Way, Living Through the Lens of the Akashic Records, promises to be grounded, humorous, and profoundly insightful guide. And I've read it and I loved it, and it is exactly all of that and more. Mary's celebrated directing career spans news, talk shows, sports, and top seven rated daytime dramas, including General Hospital, which I loved, and Another World, another one that I love to watch. And that earned her 3 Emmys and a Directors Guild from Directors Guild of America Award. Her creative life and spiritual practice now exists in a living collaboration where the divine wisdom informs every story she tells. And you can clearly see that in her book, which we'll have the links to, as well as running across the screen. So be sure to jot them down. So please welcome me in joining Mary. Let me just fix this screen. How are you, Mary? So
Hi,
good to have
Carol.
you here.
I'm doing great. Thank you for that wonderful intro.
Oh.
I don't know if there's anything left for me to say. I'll leave that up to you.
Oh, we've got plenty of questions, plenty.
Okay,
Occasionally,
good.
as folks pop in, you'll see me say hello to them. So just ignore. We always have to say hello to folks. So
Yeah.
So
definitely.
clearly you have an impressive background. I mean, I just read that you've worked at General Hospital. I used to watch Another World. You were director and Emmy winner, and so much more than that. So I'd like to start off with, and you detail this in your book, which kind of warmed my heart, the way you told that story, how that kind of ended for you and you had to move on to other things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to step aside for a minute and let you take the stage and just talk about yourself and how you ended up from doing that to this. That would be brilliant.
Okay. So I was working in the entertainment world for many years in New York and in Los Angeles. I'm originally from New York. And I was really loving it. And it wasn't like things weren't going well. They were going really well. And all of a sudden, I'll say it came to a screeching stop. And kind of the floor just dropped out from under me. And the way that it happened was I was going along, and I think the show was General Hospital. And by the way, we lost a dear part, which I don't know if you know, Carol Ann, but Tony Geary passed away within the last week, and he played Luke on General Hospital.
Yeah, I did read about that.
Yeah, and
Tragic.
he was
Yeah.
the loveliest. I did direct with him, I'll say, but I worked on the show when he was there. One of the kind, beautiful souls I've ever met. So I just wanted to say that. But anyway, so I was going along, and I'd done all those things you said, and and then we would be like actors. The directors would be on these cycles of contracts. Our contract would be cycles, and on one of my cycles, which was coming up, it would always come up. They'd renew it, whatever.
Mm.
My boss called me up to her office, and she said, "I'm not renewing you." And it was like, what? And it made no sense to me. It was, things were changing, people, musical chairs, all that happens quite often, especially on the upper levels of the networks. And so I went to all the actors. They were my gold. And I asked them all. I asked crew, I asked everyone, is there something that I missed? Is there something that I could learn from this? And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I'm leaving. I'm not renewed. And they were like, are you joking? Tony Geary was one of them who said that. He said, you're joking, doll. Called everybody doll. And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, you're one of my favorite directors. I said, that's all I need to hear. So I didn't understand it. Okay. And my world, I've been working all these years, never happened to me.
Yeah.
So, in the industry. So I had already been attracted to, I have to say, anything metaphysical. I
Yeah.
also, earlier on in the 80s, mid 80s into the 90s, had another chunk of my life where I was experiencing, while I was working in entertainment, I was experiencing what I now know to be abduction, ET abduction experience. I had a lot of them. And I didn't understand it. I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And the book that helped me and saved my life, I say, is Abduction by Dr. John Mack.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to meet him, and then he passed. So that was also this sort of connection I was having to something else. But I was still working in television thinking, okay, this is it. No, it wasn't it. So I kept following tried to keep getting back into television. It wasn't working. And I kept following, the Eckhart Tolles and the Dr. Bruce Liptons and the usual suspects of higher conscious teachers that we have. Abraham Hicks, loved Abraham Hicks, lived in those rooms. And then then what happened was I was going to this psychic in California, in Manhattan Beach or Huntington Beach. And in one of she was a person that I went to regularly. And she said, there's this dude over your shoulder. And I go, what? And she said, yeah, he looks like a genie. And I said, well, who is he? And she said, well, he tells me that two things. One, he translates sacred geometry into creative ideas that come in.
Mm.
That one was like, whoa. And she indicated from what side. And what's interesting about that is when I would, to relate to this first thing that my dude said, is that when I would work with actors and I would have an idea, it would, I'd be on the set and I'd be like, what about this or whatever.
Mm.
And a lot of times, especially the seasoned actors would say, let's do it. Where'd you get that idea? And I would wave my hand off to the right and say, I don't know, it just came in.
Oh, wow.
Let's do it. So I was already responding to this
Sure.
being that was with me, guide, whatever.
Yeah.
The second thing he said to her was, and I protect her Akashic records. and I said, what are those? I didn't know. And she said, I'm not quite sure, but that's what he says. So I went home, looked it up. I like to say choirs weren't going off, but I felt this gentle knowing when I read about what they were. And then I didn't really do anything about it. And then the next sign, we get these signs. That's why I like to tell this story, because we all get nudges, and those nudges are always indicating and bringing us into alignment, into our soul's chosen path. It happens 100% of the time. So the second sign was, I was at the really well-known metaphysical bookstore in LA, the Bodhi Tree. They're no longer, I hear. And I was in a back room by myself, and there was this book teetering off the shelf above me. And it brought my attention to it. I looked up and I pulled it down, and the book was called How to Read Your Akashic Records by Linda Howe. So I
Mm.
saw that and I went, okay, brought it home, of course, bought it, and I started reading it. And in that book, Linda guides us through a sacred prayer that she has been downloaded from the records to open your own records. So I did that like quietly on my own, not telling anyone really. And I began to hear blocks of thought that were not mine.
Wow.
Beautiful, profound thoughts. They were definitely not mine. And so I was still questioning it a little bit because I was thinking like, oh my, what is this, me? And
Yeah.
I would take the downloads that I got and I would bring them to my wife, Christine, and show it to her. And I'd say, I don't know, is this my imagination? And she would get very emotional when she read this material. And she used to say to me, you don't even speak this way. This is something you're tapping into
Yeah.
something. So even then, I didn't leap into it. And then the final kind of sign was my very dear friend Tammy on my birthday put enough cash in a birthday card for me to begin studying at the Center for Akashic Studies outside of Chicago with Linda Howe, who has that center. And so I did it. And my world just expanded.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that as I have been opening my own records throughout the years to work on my own soul's journey, figure out stuff. I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing when they go to their records. You want to remember who you are. My
Mhm.
records indicated to me that I was a writer, and I was arguing with my own records. I was sitting at my computer typing out, "No, I'm not. I'm a director."
Yeah.
And my records, just very loving energy, said, "Well, Mary, no, the imprint here shows you as a writer." So I just, I decided it confused me. And what I did was I just sort of opened my hands and surrendered to that idea, didn't think about it. And once I surrendered to just not thinking about it, I got a call to write a screenplay based on someone's book and to be paid to write a screenplay. So this is what happens when we come into alignment, when we can make sense of our past wounds, our past lives, all that stuff, because that's what we get to
Yeah.
do when we work in our records. And it's beautiful. It's such a loving energy. But once we come more into alignment, everything gets easier, which is not what a lot of us grew up hearing. We grew up hearing no pain, no gain. That is not true. It's just not true. So that's how I got from there to here. And my writing now is informed by my work in the records. So I will have my records open at times when I'm creating something. So I didn't have a career over here and went over here. I had a career over here, and my own being went, time for this, took the
Yeah.
bottom out in a sense because I wasn't listening, and then merged me over here. And it wasn't, there was a time there where I thought, well, wait a minute, I still want to be in entertainment. I still love that kind of storytelling. And it wasn't that I had to let it go. It was that I could allow the two to meet each other and story tell together. We should say, I love that you
Yeah.
used storytelling earlier.
Yeah.
That's how it happened.
Wow, it's amazing. I've been just hearing so much lately about the Akashic Records. It's almost as if it's
Mhm.
calling to humanity, because
Yes.
it's not only me, but a lot of the folks that I interview and meet are talking about it. So I think it's a very timely thing too. I'm going to say hello to some folks if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Francis, so wonderful to see you. Heidi, my star sister, blessings, blessings as always. Heidi's in beautiful Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Who else do we have right now? Oh, here we go. Hi, Teray. So great to see you. Blessings to you as well. So, of course, anybody that hops in the chat, you're free to ask anything you like. As always, I'm sure Mary would be thrilled to be able to answer that. So, as I said, I when I first read how your life changed direction, and that I've heard that story from other people before, where all of a sudden they've just had this turn of the screw and their life just completely changes and they're left pondering like, why I didn't plan for this.
Yes.
And I'm thinking maybe the Akashic records are like trying to speak to us to let us know like how to get in touch with them, because I don't think they're meant to be secretive and hidden. I just think they're meant to be tapped into. So maybe you could explain to our
Mhm.
listeners, for folks that don't know what they are.
Mhm. Yeah, and so the Akashic records are a direct mirror of each one of us. So the idea of the Akashic records, and they've been around since the beginning of time, is that there is this quantum field. It's a field. It's the field now. Quantum physics is now talking about a field, which is great. So we have spirit. We have science and spirituality are already shaking hands, right?
Oh yeah.
So there really is this measurable field. This field is quantum, meaning it's ever changing. It records. The idea of the Akashic records is that throughout the history of humanity, it records, we'll call it a spiritual imprint of
Mm,
every soul's journey, lifetime after lifetime. The idea being that every soul incarnates, reincarnates, right? In different bodies and situations, but that
right.
every lifetime has the imprint of that soul in this quantum realm, okay? And we know energy doesn't die. It is energy. Energy just moves about, and
Right.
it's not positive or negative or black or white. It's just energy. So the energy of our soul, I should say, each one of us is just moving about through time, throughout history,
Right.
and it's getting recorded into this realm. And I love that you said it's not secretive anymore. It used to be a secret. It used to be thousands of years ago. It could only be accessed by mystics and holy people. And
Mm,
what I've understood from the records themselves, what they've imparted to me, the energies, I should say, of the records, is that that was because, well, the reason we can access them more today, let's go in that direction, is because as humans are already expanding, we've been expanding and expanding. We may not feel it every day, but we are. So humanity is expanding. And so as the expansion occurs, we're getting closer. They say the veil's thinner. We're closer to that
yes.
higher vibrational space. So it's much easier to just, we don't have to go sit on a mountaintop and meditate for 6 hours. We can
Exactly.
literally just go into this intentional space. I like to say that the sacred prayer that I use anyway brings me from an ordinary state of consciousness to a divine state of consciousness. It's just
Mm,
this very subtle slipping into this other space. I feel like myself, I speak like myself, but I hear things that are not from myself. And so
yeah.
we all can do that easier. We always could do it. And I think probably thousands of years ago, there was more of a patriarchal energy going on
Oh
the
gosh,
planet.
yeah.
Yeah. And so there was this, no, you're not going to see your own power, because then I won't have power. And so we've
Correct.
outgrown that like so much throughout
Yeah.
the years.
Well, things were hidden and are hidden from us historically, on every level. I mean, I think we've been through so many resets already. Globally, we've been through so many resets. And I love the fact that we're in the midst of this spiritual awakening. I mean, I see it that we have maybe a million more years to go before we're fully awakened. Like it's not something that's the way I perceive it, that it's not going to happen tomorrow. And people think, oh, I'm so aware. There's a big difference between being aware and awake too.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
and it's good because both things are good. I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're just different. And I loved in your book how you went through conversations that you've had with the records.
Hmm.
So that gave people like a good perspective on like what to expect basically. And I have a PDF copy so I can't hold it up, but I see there's a copy back there if you want to hold it up for folks to see. It's a beautiful cover
Thank
and
you.
it's really a great book. I mean, Llewellyn, you're Llewellyn Publishing, correct?
What did you say about the publishing?
Is it Llewellyn, your
No,
publisher?
No, it's Precocity Press.
Oh, it is? Okay. Because I
Mhm.
get a lot of Llewellyn folks and,
Oh, self-published,
oh,
I
that's
guess.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. I got your press release from a different person. That's right. Very nice.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the book was really a good deep dive into getting a good grounding on understanding what these records are.
Good.
It's funny because the first experience that like I had in really knowing what they kind of were and felt like was I was interviewing someone who had an NDE
Mhm.
and they visited or were taken to the Akashic Records and they
Interesting.
described it in a way that they were able to, that God presented it to them as. So it might not be that way for everybody, but this person was presented that so that they can understand where they were and
Mhm.
what these records were. So that like tripped me out completely because I'm like, here you are having this incredible NDE and you're fortunate enough to get taken to see the records and to him it looked like this divine heavenly
Essence?
well
Was it an
it
essence?
was, yes it was, yes, he described it as that, but it had space at the same time.
Mhm.
And he said he saw like a big golden chair, and there were all angelic beings around it, and they were like the keepers. Like I'm getting the chills thinking about it when he described it. And he said that there are keepers of the records.
Yes, there are. Yes.
So
Yes.
tell us about that.
So, my understanding is that, and I resonate with this, is that everybody's records, including the collective records of humanity, are protected by an entourage of light energies known as the
Yes.
masters, teachers, and loved ones. And that entourage protects the records so that nothing can mar them, interfere. It is a sacred space. It is a divine realm, I should have said earlier. So that person having a divine experience about it is how I know the records as well.
Ah,
It is source itself. I
yeah.
mean, it's sitting in source, let's say, is what I understand. I mean, we are linear beings, human beings, so it's tough for us sometimes to use language, find the language,
Yes.
I should say, to describe this because I hear quantumly and like, what does that mean? I hear quantumly, and then it somehow, I trust, it will go through my little brain and my body and come out. It goes through my heart actually, and then it comes out to the
Yes.
individual. So those master teachers and loved ones are the masters, the masters and the teachers. There's also the lords of the records, and the lords
Mm,
of the records are the major keepers, energy wise. They're not ghosts or spirits; they're light energies. And so the lords they're the master keepers, right? And then there's the masters, teachers, and loved ones. The lords, the masters, and the teachers have never been physical. The teacher energies come in and out of our lives when we are choosing to, I want to say learn, but we don't come here to learn. That's another thing the records say. You're not coming here to learn. You come here to experience and choose. But the
mm,
real reason we come is to feed back into source itself. And we've all made that agreement on some level that that's why we're on the planet at every single incarnation, and we're co-creating with each other to expand source itself, which is so
yeah.
beautiful, to
Yeah.
infinity. Now, the loved ones, they are energies that are holding the integrity of an individual's records, and they are those who we have experienced love with in
Mhm.
this lifetime. So often when I'm in somebody's records with them, I will feel an energy. I'll just feel like a grandmother energy. It's
Oh,
not like
wow.
a psychic reading which are good. Psychic readings are more like, I'll say, like they're more one-on-one dialoguing.
Mm,
In this
yeah.
case, our loved ones are now around us, and they're making sure that, especially in a reading, that what that loved one is seeking, that they're assisting in the energy of the flow of that. So I will get a grandmother energy, a man. Sometimes I will get a name or an animal. I mean, sometimes it's if they want to be known because that person needs to know that, because it will help
Sure.
them for the clarity that they're seeking in a
Yeah, or
reading.
help them heal, whatever
Yes.
the case may be. Do you think that, like you said, there's a marriage now between science and spirit and
Hmm.
spirituality, which I think it's about time. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous.
I know it is.
Um, I love that companies like Google and other big companies are writing articles about how they're discovering we're living in this multi-dimensional world. I'd want to call it like a matrix, just for lack of a better term.
Hmm.
And they have proof that these quantum computers are able to dip in and out of these other dimensions. I mean, that's mind-blowing stuff if you think about it. So the Akashic records are records of everything that was, is, or will be, right?
Yes.
But they're
Potentials. Yes.
potentials,
Yes.
right? So they're not written in stone. So because we have free will, we can change. So say you see something in a reading, that doesn't mean it's written in stone, because that person still has the ability and desire to change that, correct? They can change an
Well,
outcome.
let's talk about that for a second, because what I understand, what I've learned from the records themselves, is that our souls make a choice when we're on the other side, wherever that is. The choice is not, I'm going to come to a Creepy family and be beat up and all of that, or
Right.
be beaten by my mother. That's not what the soul's choosing, but the soul may choose. I like to call them overarching themes, like um, self-love. I'm coming to the planet in this lifetime to experience and spread the idea of self-love. So that's fixed, but it's a
Gotcha.
choice. Very important that it's the soul's choice. And what my experience, even through my own life, has been is that all our experiences as humans, when we come into the lifetime with that, let's say it is self-love, when we come in with that, everything that we do, everything that we experience feeds into that soul choice 100% of the time. And we get to
Mhm.
discover how, when we look in the records, how we express our soul's journey. That's where we have all the choices in the world. We can do whatever we want, but somehow it will always direct us back somehow to that soul's chosen over the theme, the big theme.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So even bad things that happen to us are all interconnected to the overarching.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
records emphasize when, for example, if we're talking about somebody's trauma, or somebody is talking about their trauma,
Yeah.
or we learn it's, the records refer to Dr. Bruce Lipton a lot with his subconscious patterns that he speaks and teaches about. If we had a traumatic, whatever, life, childhood, we'll talk about in the present lifetime, the records always indicate we are not saying or suggesting that you did not suffer, or it was not painful and very difficult. However, what they're encouraging us to do when we have those traumatic, we'll call it our traumatic experiences, is to separate, identify first the energy of those experiences. It's not necessary to go through what specifically happened either, because
Okay.
the energy of the person who has been abused, it's there, right? And it may be blocking them from being their greatest self. And welcome to, like, the majority of the world, right? So what we can do, what we do in when we're in the records, is, first of all, the divine love of source, God, universe itself is flowing through the readings. It's just amazing. I'm still in awe of it. It's just, it washes over. So it's like the love of God. And
Yeah.
so I trust that. So I just allow the flow, and
Yeah.
I listen and say what I'm hearing. But what they're encouraging us to do is to identify the energy of those, let's call it trauma, if it is trauma, just the energy of it, not what happened or the pain. And then when we do, to separate the energy from the actual event itself, because energy
Mm,
is energy. And what then we can do is mine, M-I-N-E, the energy of those experiences. When I say mine, we can actually draw the energy of those experiences, not the experiences themselves, into the light and the place where we are in the now. It's amazing. I had a client that happened to. He was reflecting in his records a life that he had. He's a shaman now, practicing
Mm,
shaman, and there was a time not too long ago, meaning not in another lifetime, where he claimed he was awful, mean, bad, cursing at people. He hated homeless people. And the records asked him, can you identify what was the energy of that part of that you at that time?
mm.
And he said,
Yeah.
he goes, freaking powerful. And
Wow.
then the next thing I heard was, ask him this. And it was, what if you took the power of that, of who you were, the power of it, not what you did, and just run that right through shaman you? And he just went, oh my God. See, that's where, and then what happens is the trauma, it's not that it was supposed to happen, but the trauma itself, it transmutes. Somehow it
Yeah.
just transmutes. It's still there. It's part of who we are. We're not supposed to get rid of it. It becomes an asset. I like to really say that it's an asset in our lives. Yeah.
Wow. We have a great question here from Heidi. She wants to know, how do we live with an understanding and hopefully live with a tad more ease? Like, can tapping into the records give us a greater understanding and an ease of anxiety, worry, fear, all the ego stuff which you talk about in
Mhm.
length in your book?
Mm. Well, first of all, to acknowledge that if you're feeling that, it's justified because we're living in interesting times. I'm just gonna be light
Interesting.
about it right now. So, because sometimes when we have that dis-ease, discomfort, anxiety, we sit and in a sense, there's a little judger that comes in to go like, why am I having this? Like, and so the first thing is to go give yourself a break, pat yourself on the back. This is how I feel. That's loving yourself, and go, yeah, well,
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. And even if you don't know specifically why, don't worry about it. It makes sense. The second thing, and I think even more important than that one, the first one, is that to trust that there is, really trust that there is a source, a God, a universe. I have to use all the words because God has,
Yeah.
sometimes it's associated with churches, and that's not the God I'm talking about. So it's it's uh it's this magnificent something that has put all this beauty together, because the planet is, it's magnificent. Gaia is magnificent. How can we not notice it? It's all around us, right?
Exactly.
So number one, a way to, well, try and do that. And if you, and a sure way to do that is to get yourself in nature, even in a tiny way. It might be a
Oh,
bird
she
you see.
loves nature. She's a big nature. She's always outside planting, gardening with her granddaughter and doing all bird watching and
Okay.
all. Right,
Oh, I
Heidi?
love it. That's probably why it came up just now. So,
Yeah.
so because Heidi, you're resonating with that already, this is the next part of this, is to know and experience the love that we already are. That is like, this is the big one. It's coming up all the time because we've had it, maybe it seems like it's been banged out of us, but it's still there because we are source. We are that. Oh, okay,
Exactly.
good. So we are that, right? And then what I want to add about the nature, especially for Heidi, every time you're in awe and you have that awe moment of a bird or whatever you're doing when you're in nature and you go like, whoa, and you stop, that whoa moment is the beauty, the divinity in that piece of nature itself showing you, because you would not be able to experience that if you were not of that. This is a
Correct.
big one. And when I was shown, when I was given that from the records, I went, "Oh gosh, it's mirroring your love that you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't experience that."
Mary, a lot of us call that feeling the Holy Spirit. Like
Yeah,
I call it that. I mean, I was raised Catholic and
me too.
yeah, so you can relate. And
Mhm.
I feel comfortable calling it that. And I feel blessed that I have a lot of those moments where, I could just be out in nature and see a hawk or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get the chills, is that tapping into the records as well? Or is that just you
Well,
connect with the divine.
you're tapping into the divinity in yourself, because the new message, and the message for going into the new earth, I think, is that we are that. Throughout thousands of years, we've been told it's something outside of us. And in some cases, we've been told it's a bearded man in the clouds. No,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
none of that. I mean, we had that in Catholic, Catholic school.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it is us, and that's Christ consciousness. Christ took people that
Yes,
went on their knees in front of him and lifted them up to him, because he was basically saying, not only are we the same, but we are God. We are
yes,
to say, but
absolutely.
we are that. So that is what we're being encouraged to think, to let's say, acknowledge. And
Yeah,
I think some people get scared to say I'm God because, oh, ego. That's ego,
right,
right? Not when you are feeling beauty around you, or you're experiencing,
right.
like, what it feels like when you see somebody be loving and kind to someone. We don't see enough of that. We don't see any of it on news, so forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But it is evident around us. People are just there for each other. Oh,
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
good,
There's
Heidi.
2 comments that I wanna, get to if you don't mind.
Sure.
Francis first said, "I love how science is catching up to the metaphysical aspect of reality." I do too. So
Yep.
does Mary. We just talked about that. And then Francis said here, "I always make the worst choices. So sorry, source." And she has a laughing emoji. But I started a few years ago making sure, and I say this with the most love, Francis, to you, making sure that I even jokingly don't speak those words, because I think words are spells and you can cast them upon yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, I used to be one example that I would, like, I have a bad knee, and I would go out, and whoever I was with, every 10 minutes, oh, my knee hurts. Oh, my knee hurts. And it was like right in the forefront of my essence. And then I discovered by doing that, I was making my knee hurt, like, even more. Like, and when I stopped doing that, it got so much better. And that's a testimonial I stand by. I try
That's
to,
Abraham Hicks.
it is Abraham Hicks. I try not to complain about, I mean, everybody complains. It's absolutely human ego. But when you put it in the forefront of your day, of your brain,
Mm.
you become that. And I think even joking around saying I always make the worst choices. I mean, Francis, I think, and if you don't mind me saying, I think a lot of us feel that way. And it's one thing to think it. And then as soon as I think something like that, I go, that's a lie. Like, I have certain mantras and
Oh,
affirmations
that's
that I
great. Good
use.
for you.
And I just go, that's a lie. And I push it right out of my brain. So what do you think about that? Like, when you tap into the records, do you learn why we do these things? Like,
Mhm.
why do we plague ourselves with these types of negative thoughts?
Well, it's different in individual, cases and individual people, because we're all on our own journeys, right? And we've chosen
Right.
these, bigger journeys. Um, so the records will speak, basically, they will help that person discover. So in the case of that person that just said that, they would help that person discover, by looking at what they think are the bad choices they're choosing, what those choices are really about. Because what I kind of got when you were sharing that was, it would be sometimes tweaking the words, yes, helps us tweak what we're thinking, and it sometimes can shift us more into who we really are. So, like,
Mhm.
choices, worst choices. There's a judger in there, by the way, but worst choices. What about experiences? So their experiences. Everything is just an experience. And yes, we're making choices, but who is it in you that's saying it's the worst? Like, what is that? Where did
Right,
that come from?
right,
Right?
right.
And sometimes it can be a subconscious pattern where we were held down when we back or whatever when we were little, or it could be a past life, because um, DNA never dies, and our
Mhm.
DNA from every lifetime is still with us. It's energy. And so we can sometimes have energies that are still with us. They're not good or bad, they're just energy. But when we identify them, like, if, for example, if someone says, I always seem to be making the worst choices, well, that may be their reality. we could look at, because it sounds like they're perplexed. Why do I always do that? Then
Right.
we can, so, and that's where subconscious patterns come in, because the subconscious runs 96 or 7%, Bruce Lipton teaches this, of our behavior from the background. And people have a hard time with that. They're like, what do you mean? I know what I'm doing. No, often we'll go, I don't know why that always happens. Doesn't
Mm,
make sense in my life. It's not something I would want. And then when we identify it as a subconscious pattern, the subconscious forms from what, third trimester through about 7 years old. And it's just a recording device that records everything in
yes.
our little lives. And so then it goes into the background, and then it literally runs our behavior. And so, and science is showing that. So that being said, when we discover something that makes sense, the awareness of it is like, oh, no wonder I always whatever, or no
Right.
wonder this always happens to me. Um, my petty tyrant story. I had years of having petty tyrant. Well, my therapist termed it that, petty tyrant bosses, men and women, in the studios where I worked, and even people around me were like, "Why is he or she beating you up so much?" I couldn't figure it out, and I was doing what you were saying. It's Abraham Hicks with your knee. I kept screaming no at it, and the idea is that the universe only knows yes. It doesn't know no. The universe doesn't go like this and say you're not getting it. The universe only knows yes. It recognizes energy. So if we
Yeah.
have an energy that's going, no, no, I don't want that anymore. I used to go home and cry after being in the studio because I was getting abused so much. And
Oh, yeah.
finally, I realized, first of all, Abraham Hicks helped. I was
Yeah.
screaming no at it. The universe was seeing yes. In other words, it was seeing more of that, because my focus was going on bad bosses, creepy bosses.
And it was
And the
giving you
universe,
what you asked for.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
once I realized that, then I took it. So that was, Abraham helped me with that one. And then once I realized that, I was like, wow. So I just stopped saying, I just didn't pay attention to it anymore. It started to dissipate. Then I took that same part of my life into the records. And I
Mm.
realized that I had a subconscious pattern, which was my very first petty tyrant bully was my father. And he didn't hit me or anything, but he was, a crazy alcoholic
Oh,
and mentally abusive, and very abusive to my mother. And then the next one was I have three brothers, had three brothers, and one of my brothers bullied me really badly. So
oh,
there
good.
they were, and my little subconscious was recording, oh, this is part
Yes.
of life. You get bullied. And there we go. The subconscious then was running my behavior from the background, attracting petty
And that's the
tyrants.
gospel truth. It'll do that. Like you said, it only knows yes. It gives you, and Heidi eloquently said here, energy flows where attention goes. That is
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
true.
That is so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. I wanted to cover this topic real quick. Ashraf said, when you're sick, it means you're sick. A biological body anytime could be sick. Yes, of course. No one's denying that. And then you can say, I am sick, but it will make me stronger than before. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't complain. Gosh, we're humans. And it's funny because the other day I heard someone say in a lecture that, you know how everyone says we're bodies living a spiritual experience? Well,
Yes.
he flipped it and he said, no, your spirit is living your physical experience. And that made more sense to me, that
Me
we're
too.
really spirit and our body is just like being borrowed for this
And
experience.
following along. Yes.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, complaining, we never want to negate the human element while we're here experiencing this. So, of course, we're going to complain, but it's just when you let it override you and it becomes, in the forefront, it's almost like an addiction where you feel compelled to like hurt yourself and not show the self-love that you deserve. And I think when you complain a lot, that's part of it. I
The
think
other
that could
part
be
of it,
part of
sorry. The other part of this is that words have energy. And like, in when I'm in working with the records, as I dialogue with the person, the client, the person, the divine moves on the spoken word. Now we know that because have you ever like gone to, well, you can go to, well, I'm thinking of the scrolls. I remember the Museum of Natural History, and when they would have the scrolls there, I ran there because I just was intrigued by that stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was spooky and mysterious. But I
Yeah.
remember feeling those are words, and I remembered feeling something. I have felt things when I hold certain books. I feel it. What is that? I'm not imagining it. I know I'm not making it up. And so those are words. Words are very
Oh
powerful.
God.
Yes. And so if we are saying, ow, 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 or, look, so this is not saying, as you just said, Caroline, it's not saying that the knee hurting is not real. It's not saying that, it's not denying the reality of that. But I think what we're being asked to do when these things come up, we're being asked to this question, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
What are we going to do with it?
That is
Because
so
when our
sad.
bodies are hurting, they're telling us something. They're always telling us something. And that's why I love Eastern medicine, because Eastern medicine, listens to the body, the holistic body.
Exactly.
There was a doctor in New York, a Japanese man that I've gone to in the past, and 4 generations of healers. And he would sit, very broken accent, hard to, with a heart of gold, just an adorable little man. And he would take your palm and he'd listen to your pulse. And then he would start to talk to he would hear your organs speaking. And
Oh
he would
wow.
say, oh, your liver's okay, but wants help from kidney needs help from,
Oh
and then he would create a formula from, of course, herbs, everything from the earth. That was your prescription, basically. And it was those rough teas. They're tough, but they
oh
work.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people know about those. They're like, it's like drinking mud. But that was what, literally 4 generations of this man, he actually reversed Neil Armstrong's cancer. This is the same guy. So, when I think, what am I going to choose if my body balks and is telling me something? I'm going that route, and it feels
Yeah.
more natural to me anyway.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about that in your book about diet and how important all that stuff
Cleansing
is.
and
So,
mhm.
yeah. And for folks that are listening, you can find everything you want to know about Mary's book on the akashicway.com. So definitely we have the links in all the social media descriptions as well as running across the screen. That's AKASHIC way and the Akashic Way.com.
Did I say Lance Armstrong? No, I didn't. I said something else. I probably said Neil Armstrong or
You
something.
did. You said Neil. Oh,
No,
was it?
Lance.
Oh, you're talking
Sorry.
about the bicycle guy. The
Yes,
bicycle
Lance
dude, that was
Armstrong.
Lance. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Wow. Oh, Neil Armstrong. Isn't that funny? I said him.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Up to
Yeah.
space we go.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh boy. So, all right. We went through basically what the Akashic Records are so folks can know. I wanted to throw this out there, and you mentioned this in your book. Edgar Casey is known as the sleeping prophet. He also accessed the Akashic realm through his work as a medium, medical, and healer, right?
Yes.
And I remember reading his books in my teens, and they were kind of hard then to get through.
Yeah, I
Um,
found that too. I had the
yeah,
same
did
experience.
you? Yeah, I found them hard, and I used to go, how come I'm not getting this?
Me
But
too.
they're typical reasons. I'm glad. I feel like a kin now
I did have
because
that. I never said that to anyone until you just said that, and you
oh,
reminded
that's
me. I had
funny.
a hard time with it.
Yeah, I did. I had a hard time, and I tried so many of his books, and parts of it was so clear, and you'd get instant clarity, and other parts you were like, "What am I reading? Like Sanskrit? I don't get it. I don't get it." But anyway, I love the fact that you mentioned in his book that his readings, through the Akashic Records, suggest that each of us writes our own story of our lives through our thoughts, our deeds, and our interactions with the rest of creation. You go on to say this information has an effect on us and in the here and now, right? And in fact, the Akashic Records have such an impact upon our lives that the potentials and probabilities we draw towards us that any exploration of them cannot help but provide us with insights into nature, the nature of ourselves, and our relationship to the universe. I read that like 4 times. I love
Well,
that.
that's the excerpt, right? From
Right.
Edgar Casey, a book about Edgar Casey. Yes.
Right.
I know. Well, when I first read that in
Yeah.
that book, I read it 4 times also. I went, but it was impacting me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is really powerful."
Yeah.
Thank you for reading that. Yeah, it's deep.
Oh,
But
I
then
loved
there's
it. I made copious notes. I have like a Word document with all, and I'm like typing and reading, and I got the chills. It was great. It was fabulous. I really highly recommend folks dip into this book. Um, okay. I had a question and it just flew out of my brain. Well, I have a lot of questions, so um, we could go on and it'll pop back in. So, do you think that this divine space, it's not a physical place, right? It's an
correct.
etheric place.
Mhm.
Um, we can't touch it. We can't access it unless we do what? Because everybody is like, okay, I get it. Now I want to access my records. How do I do that?
So, a couple of things that I think makes it easy. Anyone can access their records. The first part of this, or what might help, is a belief in source, creator, something.
Mm-hmm.
That there is something. Um, Now the next somebody's going to have a question. That does that mean an atheist doesn't have an Akashic record and they can't get into it? I'm going to answer that in a little while,
Yeah.
but basically, yes, a belief in this. I just can only use the word magnificence. Uh, there's too much. I knew this when I was little. There's too much beautiful mystery on our planet that just doesn't make sense as random. Can't be. No such thing
Mm.
as random. So number one is knowing that. And then the second part is knowing that that's inside you. Now, some people can't feel that right away. So let's put that one on the shelf for a second.
Okay.
The second thing is to know that there is this field that records everything. You have to, obviously, if you don't believe that there is this realm that records, as we've said,
Mm-hmm.
then what are you accessing? And why would you even want to access something that you don't know or don't believe is there? So
Exactly.
for me, and I say knowing because I just know it. And there are, you can now look all over the internet. If anyone is attracted to the Akashic records and they don't know why, look all over the internet and ask for scientific theories about the field.
Mhm.
Okay. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's doing
I love
amazing
him.
work now. He
I have his
brings
book.
us to the field of possibilities. People could
Yeah.
go, well, what's that? You can't touch it.
Yeah.
But you're going there? I've done it. I've done the meditations and I've gone into the field. It's the same field because when you go in
Yes.
there, anything and everything is possible. And the other thing is that in the nothing, this is something that's so powerful. In the nothingness lies everything.
Yes.
And like science can prove it. It's called the center point. I think it is called the center point. But there's this point where there's nothing and everything exists and it can be measured now. So like that's pretty trippy. So all this stuff is available I'm saying the internet, but in books or whatever
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
bring people to the same space. There's not one sure way to go to your Akashic records, but you do need to believe in that source, universe, source, power.
In order
And
to
you have
tap
to
in,
also
right?
know that there is this field that exists that has recorded it. By the way, I just want to also say for those that are like, but wait, I just still don't get it. You can look in history. In the Bible, it was called the Book of Life.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people interpret the Bible as, etheric and it was out there. But then there are a lot of things in the Bible that weren't out there. Okay. Like Jesus's life and what he did. So the Book of Life in the Bible. The Quran refers to a field. The Tibetan book on living and dying. You can look at cultures around the world, and they
Yeah.
have referred to some field, and they just called it different things,
Yeah.
where human souls, the events of their lives are recorded.
Yeah. Yeah. Even the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yes,
I
that's the
remember.
other one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's another big one. Now, this book I highly recommend to folks by
Oh, that's my
Joe.
favorite book. I have it on my shelf.
Isn't it wonderful? I'm only like a quarter way in, and I'm like, it takes me forever to sometimes get through because I'm always highlighting, and I just don't want to like read it and not absorb
That's what
the
I did.
mess.
I did
Yeah.
the same thing. I highlight and then I have to stop. And
Yes,
I
you do.
downloaded the meditations that go with when he has you first going to that field,
Right.
the field of possibilities.
I mean, this
And
stuff is legit.
mhm. He healed himself. Remember, he had a broken, this
Yeah.
is Joe Dispenza we're talking about. He had a broken back, I believe, right, in his life. That was his thing, and he healed
Yes,
himself.
that's right. Yeah. Thomas Campbell's another great scientist speaking about this, Francis says.
Cool.
Yeah. I love that everybody's getting on board. I mean, even that scientist, what's his name? With the crazy gray hair.
Einstein? No.
No. The guy that's alive now. He's a physicist. He's all over television. Oh, I can't think of his name. Anyway,
Somebody's
it'll
gonna
pop
write
in.
in.
Yeah, somebody'll know who I'm talking about. He's all over TV, and you're finding that a lot of these scientists that were kind of more based on the science than on God, they're flipping the script now. They're coming they're coming to the other side, and I really love that. I love that. So, yeah. So how could we take someone who's all right, let me back up. 2020 and until now has been a traumatic several years for the globe
Mm.
in so many ways. And I think through that trauma, people are discovering their spirituality and they're becoming like the veil's getting thinner for them. And that's great. But they're left scarred and they're left in trauma from what took place and what's still taking place.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to know, could the Akashic Records have something to say about that on a global level? Like we've got 9.26 billion souls. Think about that on the planet today.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not one of them, unless you're in the mountains in the Andes somewhere and you're off the grid, completely, didn't get affected by what took place since 2020.
Yeah.
So would the Akashic Records know why we had to experience that as a humanity, or is that still on an individual level?
No, there's a collective. Eckhart Tolle refers to this. It's the collective ego conscious. And the records refer to him, the divine realm refers to him as an ascended master, which is really beautiful. I believe that to be true. So it is not necessarily on an individual basis, but and we don't need chaos and crisis in order to find the light. That is something that we have been taught. Oh, you got to have the shadow to get the light. You got to suffer. You have to suffer in order to feel good. And that's shifting. And what I'm learning is that when I'm hearing, and I'm excited that I'm hearing this, is that that's not our truth at all. And the future planet that I have seen quantumly, I have to say quantumly, is a planet that has no duality. This is where we're heading. No duality. And it is unity, consciousness, and love and kindness. And that's it. We don't need the dark to get to the light, the shadow to see the light. There won't be that. And I think we are heading more in that direction. It looks it to me anyway. So now going back to, do we need the chaos and the crisis? No, we don't need it. And people think that we do. We've been, again, trained in a sense we're hearing narratives about you got to have that in order to see what you're really about. And
Yeah,
divine
that's
says,
what we're
No,
told.
you don't. No, you don't.
Mhm.
And so I also have heard that people fear wholeness. There's a fear of wholeness because if we
Oh,
become whole, then what? Is it over? No, there's just more of it. That's what I hear.
I agree with
Now,
that.
crisis does contain a lot of, I mean, crisis does bring us it. Like me, when the floor came out from under me, that was my crisis. People call it
Yeah.
dark night of the soul. But we don't need that, because if we are listening to our inner selves, we know what makes us happy. We know what we're good at. We know what we love. We know what our passions are. Deep down, we always know. It doesn't go away. And if we can just reconnect, remind ourselves, and think, and give us the time and space, maybe be in nature, to revisit what brings us joy and happiness,
Mm,
then you're not going to have to be in crises. It's like, so
yeah.
the crises are not, they're not have to's. Um, they're not some force going, you didn't listen, so here you go. No, it's
So,
not
so
that.
that sounds like karma, Mary. Sorry.
Mhm.
So, do you believe in the essence of karmic experience as well,
No.
or do you? No. See, and I really, I spoke to one other person that was in your space about that. They didn't believe in the karmic experience at all. You get what you give and all that stuff. And I'm great for always saying, like, if I see somebody doing an injustice, I always say, karma's going to get them. Just don't do anything. Don't worry about it. Karma's going to get them. So tell
Right.
me why you feel that way,
Well, that
please.
may be simply the energy and the law of attraction. That's something, because there's so many components and layers to life that make it so interesting. So, I think that's what that is. If you put out energy, it's probably going to bounce right back to you. Like, what you give is what you're going to get. That's
Yeah.
that's like law of attraction stuff. But
Yeah.
karma, meaning, what I know, when I say I don't believe in karma, I don't believe, or I've heard that karma doesn't really, the idea that we were in a past lifetime and we killed millions of people. Now we have to come in this lifetime and be killed, or teach people not how not to kill, or learn a lesson, or we were learning a lesson in we didn't finish learning a lesson in some past lifetime and we've got to come here to finish it. No, I don't get, no. If you think about that, that idea is very close to what, I'll speak for the Catholic Church and some
I was just gonna say,
Christian, what, the salvation theory.
yeah.
You come in with sin and you have to be saved. It's like,
Yeah.
what source, God, creator, is creating a broken humanity that is supposed to be in the image of itself? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it
So
does.
I don't get this, like, lessons and lessons. It's choices, experiences, feeding
Yeah.
into source. Choices, experiences,
I
feeding
love
into
that.
source.
I love that. That is so brilliant. And I think too, a lot of people take biblical, terms from the Bible and like,
Mhm.
that we're supposed to suffer and that
Right.
suffering, it gets you, it's a gateway into heaven. And I don't believe that either. I don't think the God within us wants us to suffer or has us suffering intentionally.
No.
It doesn't make sense.
Right? It doesn't make sense. When I was little, it
No.
didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And young people they know this. Why younger people, I mean, like, I was in grammar school and I was questioning, like, what? I didn't rebel against it, but I just was like, I don't think so. Because
Yeah.
younger people are closer to source. They haven't been here long enough. So they're getting it.
Yeah. Francis says the kingdom is not
Yes, that's right.
like
Yes.
you reach, it's within us all. Yeah.
Christ consciousness.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
a lot of great comments. We'll get to them later. You said in your book too that I loved that you've been working with the Akashic Records for almost 2 decades. And every time you visit them, you learn more about humanity and the role we play in the bigger picture of the planet Earth and the cosmos.
Mhm.
How does how do the records teach you more about the role of humanity on Earth?
Because as we are co-creating through all our experiences. And through the years, I would bring my own, well, it's in the book, my own silly, sometimes silly experiences. I mean,
Mm,
I don't know. I put my life out there, and it was tough. I had to be courageous to do it because,
yeah.
some of the things I was asking in my records, when I look back, I'm going like, oh, that was embarrassing or whatever. But it was part of my journey. And that's what I
Right.
wanted to show, that the records helped me through it to make sense of it. So, ask your question one more time.
How do you know more about, how did you come to know more through the records about the nature of humanity?
In
Like,
the bigger,
yeah, the bigger picture. Yeah.
because we always somehow come back around to love.
Mm,
It You can go look through every perfect. Another example, or there's so many examples. The Twin Towers in New York, 9/11, all those souls that went in there and didn't come out and
yeah.
transitioned. What the records have shown me is that every one of those souls, now there are going to be comments on this, they didn't get up in the morning and go, I'm going to go and be hit by a plane and die today.
Yeah.
But on some level, those souls, Abraham would probably say this, were agreed to participate in one of the grandest designs of love. So if you think about what happened after that event happened, right after it, and moving on in time, the entire planet resonated. People came together in
Yes,
ways. It
absolutely.
was a grand design of love. It really was. Did it have to happen? No. And what
Yeah.
I'm being shown, so that's how we participate into,
Uh-huh.
it's an example, how souls are participating and feeding back into source itself for the goal of it, more expansion, which means more joy, more happiness, and we're all in it together exactly the same, right? And we are all that as
Mhm.
well. So
Absolutely.
what I keep hearing from the records is, you have no idea how okay everything really is. Everything really is okay. And the light always wins. I keep hearing that too.
I
The
love
light always
that.
wins. It's all about light. So the collective, the junk, the garbage that we're seeing going on, that we're witnessing, is the result of Eckhart's, what I started to say earlier. Eckhart totally refers to the collective ego conscious. Those beings, people, corporations, entities, governments, all around the world, who don't know that they are light. They just don't know who they are. They don't
No,
know.
they're
And so
so far from it.
they're far from it because they don't recognize it in themselves. So they take actions that are not of the light. It makes sense. It's actually
Exactly.
very logical. And as they do that, those actions go into this sort of, I'm always shown like a balloon blowing up. It feeds into this balloon, the collective ego conscious, and
Mm,
it just, well, I have a better analogy. I have been actually shown through the records this very gray, pulsing, thin band around the planet, right? And
mm,
that's the collective ego conscious. It's slightly pulsing, it's not wide. And every time around the planet, I could do an animation. Every time there's an act of love, an act of compassion, it shoots
mm,
up. It's almost like Cupid's arrow. It shoots into and pokes a hole in the collective ego conscious. And so eventually, more of that love, it's just going to disappear. And we won't need the contrast anymore. We won't need to, we'll know that
yeah,
we are love. We will know we're love. And you're right. It's not, is it going to be tomorrow? Probably not. Could it be? Yes, but probably not.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, the good thing is we're there's so many of us moving in that direction. And it's
Yeah.
interesting how those of us that are fortunate enough to be having some type of spiritual awakening, um, it's a very lonely place to be at the same time
Can be.
because you it's not something you can easily bring up during a dinner conversation. It's like you're that's why I love this space that we're in, because we get to do this. We get the blessings to be able to have these conversations and share them with those that are meant to hear it. So to me, this is a gift, this
For me
conversation.
too. I am
Yeah.
so glad you're saying this, and I wanna say there may be other people out there that had this. When I was little, my I mean, it was my brothers were rough and tough, and my father was, and it was just the times. And then add the Catholic Church to that, and
Yeah.
I was believing that people were good, and my family made fun of me. Oh, you think everyone's good. Wait till you grow up and somebody tries to kill you or whatever, things like that. And honestly, if I didn't have, I think I might have thanked the nuns in my book. If I didn't have really good nuns, because people have bad nun stories, I
I had
had
a few bad.
okay, see, my wife did too. I
Yeah.
had beautiful they were, thank God,
Yeah.
and they were not shoving religion down our throats. They were just beautiful women who believed in life, who believed in love,
Mm,
and believed in light. That was it. And they always saw the good in each one of us. And if
yeah.
you weren't getting it home, you were going to get it from them. And I, to this day, they were the Ursuline nuns. I do thank them because it was not, I didn't have that in my family. I could have gone down, the rest of my family did go down really rough roads. And I did not. And that's because I thought the way they were behaving was kind of dumb. I remember thinking this is a waste of time in myself. And I was very quiet. I was very shy and I wouldn't speak up. But
Yeah.
inside, I
I was
knew,
like
and I
that
was
too.
really beat up a lot for believing that people were good. And
Yeah.
then when I got into life and on my own, and now today I wake up and I go, oh my God, I was right when I was little. I was right. We are good.
I think innately we are. And
Yes.
there's a lot of darkness out there too. But, to me, and I always say this, I see it as yin and yang. There's
Mhm.
always the darkness, there's always the light. And there's going to be people that choose to follow the darkness and people that choose to follow the light. But I think overarching, there's more better people, good people, than there are not good people,
Well,
because
and
if not,
well,
how could we function as a society if that weren't true, right?
and also we'll call it like in quotes, the not good people. If you took every one of those not good persons, and sat them down one on one and extracted what made them not good, whatever their actions were, you would come to discover, and this is what I hear from the records 100% of the time, not only why they did what they did, not that it's justified, we're not saying that,
Right.
but what was going on in their lives. And this is called restorative justice, of course. Oprah Winfrey started to go into that in her O magazine many, many years ago, restorative justice, where criminals actually are come face to face, with a therapist there, whatever, mediator, with with the person they hurt or the family of the person that they might have even killed. And what happens as a result is healing. It's been
Yeah.
measured. Healing. The criminal, they're not going free, but the criminal will start programs from behind bars
Yeah, yeah, I've
to
seen
help.
that.
Yeah, and then
Absolutely.
and then the ones who were harmed or they lost a family member, whatever, they're released. They don't have that weight anymore and they're freed. So why is that happening? Because there's this space that people meet which is non-judgmental for a short time. And when we take the judgment out, then we can see the light in each one of us. I do believe that
Absolutely.
to be true. I really do.
I agree. I do too. I want to play devil's advocate and just flip the script on you for a second because I
Sure.
just like to do that. My brain, in order to like come to terms with things that are very esoteric, I have to debunk things to do that. Like
Sure.
I'm more of a progressive person and I do like process of elimination. So let me ask you, how do we know that the Akashic records aren't just some type of subconscious therapy that our mind is doing to deal with trauma and process trauma correctly? How do we know that that's not the case? That these downloads you're getting and a lot and everyone else, I mean, I've had them too, are not just our unconscious mind doing this.
Well, I believe it's all the same thing.
Mm,
So it is because It is not something outside of ourselves. Again, it is a mirror of who we already are. It is a mirror. And that's what that's what the records are. They're a living essence mirror, meaning it's mirroring back to us who we are, basically. And so we're getting doses of ourself. So our subconscious and our conscious is engaged in those in with the entourage of our light energies that are feeding us more of ourself that's already in the imprint. So it's something that's everything everywhere all at once, right?
Movie.
So it's all of it. Is it
Yeah.
our subconscious? Yes. Here's you'll love this. One time I was in my own records and I was still doubting, and I wrote, I would just write at my computer and I would listen, and I wrote, is this real or is this my imagination? I
Mm.
was expecting to hear from the records, oh no, Mary, it's real. They said, of course it's your imagination. Yes, because the
Oh,
imagination is one of the freest parts of human beings. It's the easiest to flow through information and have it come out that helps us remember who we are, because our imaginations are part of who we are. So there's another little side answer to your question. It is all of it.
I love that answer. I have to
Mhm.
tell you. And I believe you to be spot on, because I took a quantum healing session once, and during that we were talking about the very same thing.
Ah,
Like, is this real? Of course it's not real. It's your imagination, but that's real. See, we were taught so many things that weren't true about our imaginations. Like, I'll give you a quick example. When I was in school, I was always daydreaming, and I think I was astral projecting, I swear. I think I was traveling.
probably.
I was just somewhere. I don't know where, but I went somewhere, and I would do it like several times a day. And the nuns hated that. And I use the word hate because they did. They punished me
Oh,
every
wow.
time they saw me doing that, and would scold me and put me in the corner and tell me to stop daydreaming. So they made it like out of the gate that it was my parents never did that, but the nuns, they
Wow.
made me feel horrible about doing that.
Wow. That's a shame. I feel bad
Yeah.
hearing that. I really do. Shame on them.
Yeah, shame on them. I had a few good ones, but the majority, unfortunately, where I went in Brooklyn, they were not.
But how did you all right, so now how did you, uh and did you? I know you did. How did you connect with your imagination in a beautiful way?
Well, the odd thing is, real quickly, I couldn't stop doing that. So
Uh,
that's why I was always getting punished, because like I'd be sitting in class wanting to learn, and all of a sudden I would just leave. Like I would just leave and go somewhere, probably because it was such a bad experience and I just had to leave to deal with it. Like that's how
mhm,
I look at it. Because we
mhm.
got hacked and whacked and all sorts of stuff in that school.
That's
And that
awful.
that was my way of escaping, the situation. So I never stopped doing it regardless of the punishment, and I do it till today. Like, people will say to me, "Are you all right? Like, where'd you go?" And I love doing that. That's like my
That's great.
saving grace.
That is
Just
very special. That's so if only everybody could just hear that
yeah,
with you and just do that.
yeah, I agree.
And it can be staring out the window. I love doing that.
Yeah,
Just stop
absolutely.
everything and just stare out the window. Mhm.
It's really one of the things that I hold so close to me that have kept me sane through all of life's tragedies. Like, I 4 years ago, I lost my husband of 45 years during that
Oh,
whole
no. Wow.
COVID thing, and I think the only thing that thank you, Heidi, the only thing that kept me sane was my everything we're talking about here, in a nutshell. And that's why I loved your book, because
Thank
it
you.
really took me back to so much of what I really wanted to believe to be true, and that just, like, confirmed it for me.
Thank
So
you.
thank
And you know what? That's what the records did for me. When I was
Yeah,
first going into the records and I was hearing this information, I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I would get chills, which was just spirit affirmation, Holy Spirit of light. affirmation. And I'd be like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, that is real. That's what I thought. The other one who says, and I'm also hearing other ascended people say things that and I have never met them, that the records have been saying. And I'm sure you go through this. I love when that happens. So the one that I love is Cryon, Lee Carroll. Lee Carroll
Mm,
channels Cryon, which is they're known as Cryon of the Magnetic Service, and they
mhm.
are a loving divine energy. He's been doing this for 35, if not more
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And Lee and Jan Tober, I think they wrote one of the first Indigo Children books together. And he was
Oh,
like
wow.
a straight-laced guy, an engineer, wasn't sure about all this stuff. And the Cryon started coming through him. And
Yeah, yeah.
Cryon talks about the future of humanity and that everything is okay. And that there is this divine source and resource that is who we are. It's all the same stuff. And I hear that and I'm like,
Exactly.
oh, not that we have to know, not that we need affirmations, but boy, doesn't it help when we hear the same information,
Oh my
right?
God.
Mhm.
There's no better feeling because in your core, in your soul, in your spirit, you know it to be true. But because of all this negated information that we have that we've been taught is wrong, is not wrong. But it's like we can't, like the squirrel brain wants to refuse to let it go, like
Yes.
that little squirrel brain. I also have to just say I love what Tehran. I hope Teray.
I think it's terrain.
Terrain? Oh, Terrainy Crawford. Yeah. Well, he knows I'm talking about. Okay. It's the space where one can meet ourselves and the other, heart to heart. Listen with your heart, speak from your heart, act through your heart, expands love in the world.
Yes.
Yes. Right, Mary? It's all heart centered,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
look at Heart Math up in Northern California. They're now, and they've been around for a long time. They're measuring, right? They're
Sorry.
measuring they actually have machines that can measure what's coming
Yeah.
off of the heart when it's in coherence, when it's in a compassionate state. And it goes out like really far. Like we're affecting each other. And I also think that shows like this one, like what you're doing, and others, there's so many people that are doing this similar coming together.
Oh, yeah.
This is the
Absolutely.
time. We're all coming together, and it doesn't matter what mainstream's doing because we're going around it, aren't we? We're just going around it. That's where love wins. We're gonna go around it.
Yep, absolutely. We are going to go
Mhm.
around it. That's why I try not to let a lot of the junk, like I try not to watch TV at all much, the news, because it's just all junk propaganda just to turn
Yeah.
us against
Yes, it
each
is.
other. It really is. It's just, and they want it that way. They want us to hate each other and to, fight each other. And it's politics. It's just
It's
the
dis
nature of the nature of the beast.
it's disempowerment. They want us disempowered so that
Absolutely.
then they have more power. And
Yeah.
actually, that's not what happens. Because the more
Oh,
you hold people down, they're eventually gonna go, "I'm done."
bingo. That's right.
So it doesn't work.
Okay, another thing that struck me, because this happens to me a lot too, and I felt really I related to this. You said there was a period where you kept receiving messages that you'd be wakened up at 2, 3 a.m. and you'd get these important downloads. So at first you resisted, concerned that you would not be able to function without a full night's sleep, but something kept nudging you to trust, right?
Yeah.
So then you say this was the exchange with the Akashic Records and how it reshaped your creative energy and so on. Tell us about that a little bit. What was that like?
Well, and it was yeah, it happens frequently, in the very early like, before we're really awake, really early, and, I start to hear things, like, I'll wake up and I'm half asleep, but it's like I'm watching a film, um, and do I always get up and run and sit down and write? No, now I'm learning to just listen and allow whatever's coming in, which is and there are usually very profound messages about topics like the word confusion
Mm,
or their topics, their themes, I'll say.
mm,
So that happened. But the other thing that happened was when I was writing this screenplay that I was writing, It was uh, a modern version of a new story of Mary Magdalene. I'll say this, that we now know it came through a channeler, and it's not Mary. It's not the Mary story that's in the Bible, but I turned it into a modern. I wanted to turn it into a modern storyline, an adaptation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one night it was like 3 in the morning, 3:30 something. I open my eyes and I'm seeing this handsome oil rig worker working on an oil rig in the ocean. I
Mm.
don't know. I don't even like oil rigs. Like, ew, I don't know anything about them. And I'm seeing this and I'm seeing him and I'm seeing how it relates to the story and that there's this. I start seeing and I hear it's like a quantum whisper, get up.
Oh.
And I just kind of said in my mind, I'll remember. I'm too tired. I'll remember when I get up in the morning. And I just kept hearing, no, Mary, you have to get up. You have to get up. And I did. I dragged myself into my office, turned the light on,
Oh,
blinded.
wow.
And I sat and wrote what I was seeing. That became one of the major storylines, critical storyline in the screenplay that I was writing. So I think this, a lot of people talk about this getting awakened and then look on the clock with the numbers that line up when that happens, waking
Yeah.
up at 333 or
Yeah.
222.
That's a big one.
Yep, that's a big one. Like that, there may be a portal at that moment, and
Yeah.
information is flowing through, and it's not always coming in from up. What I've been hearing too is like from underneath us.
Yeah.
We have energies under us that are also light. We don't think of it because we think of dirt, but below the earth, there are
Yeah.
energies below the earth that
Oh,
are
sure.
very powerful, and there's information, and that's coming through. And the reason it comes through in our sleep time is because that's when it's the easiest to get through. Because,
Absolutely.
right,
I mean,
we're
we're
not
in
in
a
the
theta
way.
state, we're in a theta brainwave state. And, it's so interesting how do you hear these when you're hearing like get up? Is that the same thought process as like when you talk to yourself? Like, do you hear it in your own voice? I guess is what I'm asking.
No, and it's
Mm.
not a voice; it's a thought. And it's a thought
Oh,
that's not mine. It's exactly what happens when I'm in the Akashic Records. So it's just a thought that's not mine. I'm not thinking it because when it comes in, I'm like, "What?" And I
right.
don't speak to myself that way. I don't I don't have
Right.
thoughts in
You
my mind
know.
that I created and then I go, "Huh?
Yes.
What?" Right?
Yes. I get that often too. And at
Mhm.
first I thought, like it kind of shocks you because it's not your own thought.
Right.
So that could be the Akashic Record speaking to you, right?
Yeah, and again, isn't it all the same soup?
Yeah, it is all the same soup.
It's divinity.
Exactly
Divinity is
correct.
all
It
around
is.
us and in
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
And while with our remaining time, I would love to talk to you, which you cover in your book, ETs, UFOs, and are they helpers?
Mhm. Yeah.
So you've had some experiences, right?
Yes, I have a lot.
Good. Could
Um
we dig into that?
And actually that person, Terrain, is a
Yeah.
is a lady, is a woman,
Oh,
and
sorry about that,
I didn't
Terrain.
even stop to say hello, Terrain, but she's a very dear friend of mine. We go back more than 40 years. She was the only
Oh,
she's the only person that I had during that time that I could share these experiences with, um, in a way that I know would be understood. And,
oh,
my experiences were I was having things happen at night where I remembered being yanked backwards through walls, and then I wouldn't remember where I was, but I would
wow.
remember coming back in, and the next day I would be completely out of it, like really out of it. And it was happening everywhere. It wasn't in one particular place. I had experiences about with missing time. I had just a lot of it.
What
And
age did you notice that started happening to you, Mary?
um so it would have been in my 30s. Let me think. Yeah, probably in my 30s. Yeah. 30s to into my 40s. Yeah.
Were
It
you
wasn't my
living in
20s. Yeah.
Were you living in New York at that time?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
One of them was occurred in Boonton, New Jersey, at a lake, and it was near a reservoir. And that was a big one. And what's interesting is when that happened,
Mm.
I was doing a timeshare we were sharing a cabin with some friends,
Yeah.
and it happened, and then I didn't remember it. So we were having breakfast we had a screened in porch on the lake, and the man that owned the properties around the lake rowed over in his rowboat, and he said hi to us, and he said, Was one of you up early this morning? Does one of you have an orange bathrobe? And we were like, no. And he said, well, I saw an orange cylindrical object nestled against the cabin. And so I thought maybe, do you have a float or something that's that color? And we were like, no, I still didn't connect it. And then he said, oh, it must have been a UFO. And I laughed at him and said, oh, stop.
Oh my.
And he goes, no, we've had sightings here. So he rode away, and I had a sore in my nose that day, and I wasn't doing anything, drugs or anything like that.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then that was the same weekend that I had missing time driving around that reservoir with some
Yeah.
people in the car, and we all didn't talk about it afterwards. It's so interesting.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
That each person just ignores like the missing time thing. Because they don't want the other person to think they're crazy, so nobody talks about it.
Not only that, I think I think we're in a state where we're just not going to talk about it. In other words, I don't think we're thinking, I'm scared they're going to think I'm crazy. I never got to that. I just remembered days later, hey, we all drove back to New York City, and we didn't talk about it.
Oh, so you didn't remember until after. Oh,
Well, and
wow.
I wasn't aware that we didn't talk about it until after. So that told me that maybe we were in some state to not remember. And I think that is what happens. I had one in Ireland, everywhere. Montauk Point. That was another one.
Wow. Did you get to see or remember meeting ET? Like,
No.
did they no.
No, but
Wow.
I was afraid to do hypnotherapy because I was afraid that I would freak out when when I saw them.
Mm.
But here's how I came to understand who they were. I was just led to, again, books, resonating. When I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, sobbing in the theater because
Yeah.
of like a memory jog or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something. Also, Fire in the Sky, I went to see that movie on
Oh,
Broadway in
yeah.
New York, and when I came out of the theater, I was sick to my stomach and was, like, falling into the building. I was all out of it, and I
Oh
think
my
it
goodness.
had to do with when he was remembering the thing going into his eyes and whatever.
Yeah, yeah. That
Well,
was gruesome.
so I kind of, I took it to therapy, and the therapist didn't understand it. That didn't work.
No. You have to
Um
go to a particular type of therapist they have for that
Right,
sort
which
of.
of course I didn't know back then. But
Yeah.
what I have come to discover from the records, and that is that chapter, are they helpers? And I kind of was asking in my records, can I bring some of my experiences right here into the session? And they were like, yes. And they said, yes, they are helpers. And a couple of things that were interesting. The records said that these ET races, when they did, I don't like to say take us. And I like that we're calling it experiencers and not abductees. Is
Exactly.
that we're
That
talking about,
verbiage changed. It all changed.
yeah, because the terror of it, the drama of it, and the terror of it came from moving from a space of third dimension solid into the space and dimension that they're in. And so,
Wow.
what I understand happened, and I do remember this too, is being put in a liquid, some kind of a liquid in an egg or something, to put me into a state where I will be able to go into. And is the whole body going? Sometimes they are, but I think mine was still there in the bed. But I think some part of me, maybe consciousness, some
Mhm.
other part of me, of my wholeness or whatever, is being taken. And when when Richard Dreyfuss in that movie, when the people say, the scientists, whatever, and they're like, don't let him go. And they're like, no, he asked for this.
Yeah.
He requested this. He asked for it. That resonated with me because I think on a deep level, I have been meeting up with what feels like home to me, and it's the Arcturians. and I've been drawn to books about them. And when I read about the Arcturians, the ships, what they do as an ET race, they're helping
Yeah.
heal. They're
Oh, yeah.
healing on this planet. I completely like disappear. So I know that's my reality. So the records affirm that, but they also said that one of the reasons that ETs were, in quotes, experimenting on humans is to extract DNA so that they would know how we're made up, so that they would know what parts of their own technology they could use to help us here. So, like, for
Yeah.
example, radiation and
Right.
chemtrails. I just heard the other day from someone who talks to the Pleiadians, actually, that the ETs they're sucking up all the chemicals off of the
Oh,
planet.
that'd be great
That
if
is
that.
happening, apparently. I mean, this sounds like crazy, but the records
No, not
did
at all.
affirm. The records affirmed it, and affirmed that they are helpers. And now, are there races that are trying to do bad things? There were, and apparently they've
Yeah.
been ousted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the
I get
Draco reptilians and
the
stuff.
reptilians, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And the
No,
other
I'm
thing too is
completely on board with that.
mhm,
I mean, I hope you're right about that too, that they're helping get rid of all the toxic chemicals and stuff, because
we
who's
need
ever
it.
behind that? I mean, whether it's DARPA or who know, I don't know.
Well, here's the other thing they've been doing, apparently, and they've been thwarting or not allowing to happen nuclear war. I mean, look at in North Korea, they had missile tests that blew up in the they didn't work. They were dismantling, and what I understand they do is they can dismantle the codes.
Oh yeah, this my a good friend of mine who's on the show a lot, Preston Dennett. He's one of the
Oh, I
world's top.
love him. Yes.
Yeah, he's a good friend of. He's going to be on soon again.
Oh, good.
Um, I it's funny because I was thinking of introducing you to, because he would love to document your stories. Like that's one of the
Cool.
things he does. And
Definitely
then
do
he,
that. I'm more than
oh,
happy.
I will, I will. I'll hook you up through
I went
email.
to when I went to concert I always say concert, Contact in the Desert in wherever that is, Palm Springs area. A couple of years ago, I went to one of his, talks and read his book. I really like him, and I love the work that he's doing. So, yes, that would be great.
Oh, I will. He's a host of him and his partner are actual hosts on United Public Radio. So they're a part of
Oh,
this network. And that's how I became such good friends with them. I just spoke to them today, in fact. But
oh,
it's so weird because after I read that segment in your book, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I got to hook up Dennis,
see?
Preston,
You got
because
that, it came in.
absolutely it came in.
And
It
you
really
listened.
did come in. And the fact that you're agreeing to it too is
Oh,
just
yeah,
like,
absolutely, I'd be more than happy to. And the other really wonderful thing that I discovered, and I read Whitley's books,
yeah, yeah.
well, that they are part of Source. They're part of
Yeah,
God. That the
I believe
ETs are
that.
part of Source, and that's in my book.
Yeah.
So that made me feel wonderful too, because I always had it, like, separated out, like, "Oh, that was happening to me then, and now there's this over here." And when
Yeah,
I was actually nervous about bringing all of that into my own records, and of course, it's my imprint coming back.
absolutely.
So
Oh,
it
no, I
showed
fit
that
perfectly. Yeah,
it blended perfectly, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, I hear a lot of people talking about there's this United Federation of Planets, and I don't know if it's because, like, I'm a big Star Trek fan and that's where it originated, but some people say that it really exists, that we have a United Federation of Planets. I mean, I would love to see what the records say about that. If it's, do they validate stuff for you like that? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, they do. And that's because it's because I'm in my records. But the other
right.
thing too is I asked, well, why am I hearing things from in my records? Why am I hearing about the entire world? I think I put that question in the book too.
Mm-hmm.
Why are
Yep,
you
you
telling me
did.
about humanity when I'm in my own records? And they said, because that's part of my, it's probably was the same for Edgar Casey, that's part of my chosen role here. It's not just to
Yeah.
go into my own individual records and get clarity and everything, but it's to hear the broader perspective of divine realm itself, which is where the records sit. So that's
Right.
why
That
I
makes
had to make
sense.
sense of that. So I'm like, why am I hearing about the future? I mean, there's a chapter on the sun. I opened up the Akashic records of the
Love that.
sun,
Yeah.
and the sun spoke, and the sun wants to be called Helios, which I love. And it basically said, you know, you're giving me all a bad rap. I'm not causing cancer. I'm not coming in to destroy you all. That's not
Mm.
my role. And
Stop
it's
wearing
interesting.
sunglasses.
Yeah.
That's been a big thing with people lately. They're like, stop wearing sunglasses. You need the sun's rays through your eyes. You know, it's trippy. You use the word Helios. My sister's a movie screenplay writer, producer, and the name of her movie is Helios. Like, that's trippy.
Oh, I love.
That's
What's it
trippy.
about? Is it about the
It's
sun?
about the sun and
Wow.
solar flares and astronauts, and she's a sci-fi geek, so it's all of the above. But
And I wrote a teen sci-fi series, and it over 6 years I developed it, and I brought
oh,
a wonderful woman into co-development with me, and it's out there being looked at now, but it's
oh,
like 13 Reasons Why meets Stranger Things. And I got to the sci-fi part because I was actually concerned about teens being lost, that they're
oh
not
yeah.
being heard. And I don't know why I resonated with that, but I did. And for years I was following, like, teens, what are they doing? Why are they troubled and whatever? And I thought I was going to write like a drama series, but then
Mm.
I watched the one of the master classes, and it was Aaron Sorkin. And Aaron Sorkin said in this master class, write what you know. Don't write what you don't know, write what you know. Well, I
Gosh,
don't
that's
have children, so here I am writing about teens. That was it. It clicked, and I went, I know all about UFOs. I know all about the government. I know about the underground facilities. I know what's off of Malibu. I understand the ET races. I know about missing time. All these players, Preston and everybody, I know all about them. I've met
sure.
Travis Walton. So that's it. It opened up, and the story is about a teen who finds out she's a hybrid, and
Oh,
she's on a mission, and she's going to be like saving people,
well,
doing good
about
things.
teens because of your own experience. We all went through teenagehood, and you had very profound experiences as a teen. So
That's probably why, yeah.
yeah.
I've always resonated with young people, always,
Mm.
and especially, like, young actors. I don't know, I just love, young people. I get them. I don't know why I get them, but I do.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So
Mhm.
what are you working on? I know you said your screenplay. Do you have another book in you? This is your only book, am I correct?
Correct, my first one. Yes, I do have another one, and it actually is probably going to be called 1 Hour at a Time: The Power of Crisis.
Oh,
What I did was, I'm in Asheville now, North Carolina, and so we went through Hurricane Helene.
yeah.
And again, it was a message. It was one of those, not fully awake, and I heard, put up, some notices and do free readings for people who are struggling with the aftermath of this, because what people went
Oh,
through and how this city
horrible.
together. So I did that. I went on groups on Facebook, and I just said, I'm offering free readings for anyone who's, affected by going through this right now. And so, bunch of people came in, and it was really interesting, like, were the readings all about the crisis itself? No, but it ignited things in people.
Sure.
It moved people into more of themselves. Some people decided to stay, some people decided to move, and they may not have decided to move had that not
Yeah.
happened. So, there is power in crisis, and we do still have a future where we won't have to have it, but that's the second book.
Oh, and did you start that yet, or is
Yeah,
it?
I
Oh,
have, yeah, mhm. And,
nice.
and then I'll open the records for insight, because that's what I do when I'm writing. I will something will connect up, and then I'll open the records and then ask, what is this about? Or, I'll ask questions that will help people navigate through
Yeah.
crisis energy, let's say, or like the why of it. And so, it's going to be another journey, in a sense, around
Wow.
crisis.
And so you do readings, you do readings for folks, right?
Yeah.
And they could find all that information out on your website,
All
obviously,
on the
right?
website, and I have a special page up on my website, theakashicway.com, for, like, holiday rates through, like, the end of through February. So it's just, sort of like gift rates.
Oh, nice. And you do this through Zoom, I'm
Yes.
presuming?
Yep, through Zoom.
Brilliant.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
you
if
know
anybody's interested, check out her website for sure.
you remember you said earlier in our conversation something about, like, more people seem to be aware or asking about this, or not just the Akashic Records, but the things we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a guest on Coast to Coast, that show
Ooh.
in the middle of the night, right? And usually, and I was pleasantly surprised that they were open. They have had Akashic Records people before, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, wow, Coast to Coast, I've been listening to them for years.
Oh, yeah.
And their audience in the millions tends to be people you would, I'll just say, traditionally, people you would not think would be asking about this or knowing about it, right? This
True.
sounds judgmental, but that's what my experience has been listening to shows. Not so. I have had more people coming who had listened to that broadcast, that radio show, saying, this, I know this, and I want a reading, or I have questions. People have written to me. And it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
yes. So it ignited a familiarity.
Yeah.
And the host is George Norrie, and he's just a doll. He's a
Oh,
sweetheart. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I noticed that kind of same thing happen with the Mandela effect. Like
mhm.
that thing that exploded a few years ago. And like people just want to know more. They want to know
Yes.
more about it. It's so interesting to see how things move through like the zeitgeist of
Yes.
society,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes, I
So
agree.
interesting.
It's a really exciting time to be in right now. It really
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
right? We're all coming
It-
together, and we're
And
spreading
I
the
love
good
it.
news, and we're
Yes.
getting, and we're sharing our happiness together and our joy together. And thing is, it's not pie in the sky. It's real.
It is 1,000% real, Mary.
Yes, and love is real.
And I am so blessed to have crossed paths with you, and I
Yes.
would love to have you back on the show. Maybe we could do like a Preston Mary interview,
Oh, let's do it, a three-way? Yeah,
a three-way.
a three-way.
Yeah,
Let's
a three-way.
That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah, I have to email Preston tonight actually. So I'm gonna mention that, and I think he would be 100% on board.
So then add this to, what you're gonna say to him, if this resonates with you. If we know what we might wanna talk about, and this can come from him as well as you, you could let me know ahead of time, and I'll open the Akashic Records about that.
Oh,
This way, when I come in, it will be talking about what the records have said. I wanna do that because I wanna hear. I love connecting these worlds. So,
that sounds
we
brilliant. Oh,
suggest
I'm
that
gonna
to
get
him.
on it. I'm gonna get on it.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure I didn't miss any comments. Oh, okay. I guess they were talking about the Arcturians.
Arcturians.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Arcturians.
Yeah. Well, I think
Oh,
I
wait,
pretty
there's
much.
one more thing I wanna mention.
Oh, yeah,
Speaking
go
of
right ahead.
Arcturians, there's a man named, he's a British guy, and some of you may know of him. His name is Alexander Quinn, and, he channels the Arcturians.
Ooh,
Fabulous. He's on YouTube. Alexander Quinn.
I'm gonna have to
You
write.
gotta listen to him, because what they are coming in and saying and helping us with is fitting right in with everything that we said. It's just total affirmations.
Ooh, okay. I'll go
Alexander
subscribe
Quinn.
to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Great. Oh, your friend says, wow, what a great idea. Yes, and it was such a pleasure to meet you.
Same here.
Um, yes, I'm so blessed to have met you. I loved your
Thank you.
book. And
Thank you.
this is stage one of what we're going to be doing next. So
I'm in. I'm totally in. I love when this happens. More of it. You're
this is
wonderful. You are
synchronicity.
wonderful. Keep doing what
Oh,
you're doing.
thank you.
Really.
Thank you. That's really means the world to me. Thank you so
I
much,
mean
Mary.
it. Yep.
Thank you, dear. And I will be in touch with you, if not tonight, tomorrow for sure.
Okay. That's a deal. I love it. I look forward
Awesome.
to
And
it.
we're on the same coast, so we
It'll
don't
be
have to worry
easier.
about time, right?
I
Time
like
zones.
that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary.
You're
Blessings
welcome.
to you.
Thank
And I will
you.
talk to you
too.
soon, dear.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you everyone so much. That show was mind-blowing. Love it when synchronicities happen that way. We're going to be doing a lot of awesome stuff together. And thank you everyone in the chat. You guys rock. I love you all dearly. And of course, you've been listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is a 105.3 on the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we just learned so much about the Akashic Records, and we're going to learn more. And I hope that each and every one of you get a copy of her book and learn how to really dig into them. I know I've got a lot of work to do. And I know my dog Oliver wants to say hello. Come here, baby. Come on. Every time I say goodbye to you guys, he has to come and say hi. Who is that? Oliver got a nice bath today. Anyway, thank you all, guys. Hey, Oliver. Yes, Heidi. You always say that. So much love. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Real quick, I have a fantastic show tomorrow at 3 p.m. with Laura Lee and Carrie Lynn from the network. So, thank you. Yes, love these conversations. This one was at the top of my list. So thank you all so much again. Don't forget tomorrow at 3 o'clock, we have two folks that host here, and Laura Lee, Carrie Lynn. We're going to have a mind-blowing conversation. So make sure you pop in live. Yes, Heidi. Thank you so much. You are the best, star sister. Goodbye, all. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed evening. Say goodbye, Oliver. We love our furry babies. Bye-bye, everyone.